Ethan's ship shuddered as it pierced through the upper atmosphere of Zirin Prime, the capital planet of the Zirins. Outside the viewport, the sky shimmered with shades of violet and gold, and distant cities glimmered like stars laid upon a crystal surface. Despite the beauty, Ethan felt a knot in his stomach. He was only human, and these beings were something else entirely. Tall, graceful, with eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light. The Zirins were proud, clever, and advanced. Earth had been considered a small, insignificant world until humanity had begun reaching for the stars. Now, Ethan, a young engineer, was chosen as part of a diplomatic mission, a chance to show humans were not to be underestimated. But he could not ignore the whispers he had heard in the corridors of the ship. He's only human. How could he ever fit in here? The landing pad was enormous, stretching miles across the crystalline plains. Ships of different shapes and sizes hovered and descended gracefully. Zirin engineers in flowing silver tunics moved with precise, fluid motions. Ethan stepped out of his ship, taking a deep breath. The air smelled different, cool and metallic, yet clean. It filled his lungs, and for a moment he felt alive in a way Earth had never given him. "Welcome to Zirin Prime," said a soft, melodic voice behind him. Ethan turned to see a Zirin girl stepping forward. She was taller than most humans. Her long hair shimmered like strands of liquid silver, and her eyes glowed a soft blue. But her smile was sharp, teasing. "I am Liara," she said, tilting her head as if studying him, "and you must be the human they sent us." How quaint. Ethan felt a heat rise to his cheeks. He had been mocked before, yes, but never by an alien whose very presence seemed perfect. I'm Ethan," he said cautiously. "I hope I can be of help." Liara laughed softly, but it was not warm. "Help? Humans call that help. We call it amusing." She circled him, her eyes inspecting every angle. "Do you always wear your suits like that? It looks heavy." Ethan tried to smile, but the tension in his chest did not ease. He remembered the instructions from the human diplomats. Stay calm, observe, and let your work speak for itself. He straightened his posture and nodded. "It's functional and comfortable enough for me." Liara's laughter echoed lightly, like the chime of crystal bells. Other Zirins nearby glanced at them, some curious, others indifferent. "We shall see," she said. Then, with a flick of her hand, she motioned for him to follow her. The hallways of the Zirin capital were breathtaking. Transparent floors revealed glimmering energy currents flowing below, and the walls seemed to shift with soft pulses of light. Ethan had never seen technology like this. Every device hummed with elegance, not just power. The air vibrated faintly with an energy that made him feel alive, but slightly off balance. "This way," Liara said, leading him to a large chamber where several Zirin officials gathered. They were taller, leaner than humans, with an aura of authority. They watched him with curiosity mixed with skepticism. Ethan cleared his throat. "I am honored to meet you," he said. "I hope my work can prove useful." One of the Zirin council members, an elder with golden eyes, spoke. "Earth is young, human. You arrive with great pride, yet little experience. Tell us, why should Zirins trust your kind?" Ethan felt the weight of the question. He could not lie. "Because," he said slowly, "humans adapt. We may lack your technology, but we find ways to solve problems. We create solutions in unexpected ways. I hope to show you that Earth is not so weak as you may think." A murmur ran through the chamber. Liara raised her eyebrows, clearly amused. "Bold words for such a small creature," she said softly. Ethan noticed the flicker of a smile hidden behind her teasing tone, though he was not sure if it was genuine. The council member nodded thoughtfully. "Very well. You shall stay under observation. There will be tests. You may surprise us, or fail." After the meeting, Liara escorted him to a training area, a vast dome filled with devices that seemed both alien and strangely organic. "Here is where we see if a being is worthy of understanding Ziran technology," she said, "or at least amusing enough to watch struggle." Ethan glanced at the intricate panels and floating holographic controls. It looked impossible to a human, yet he reminded himself that he was resourceful. He had solved engineering problems on Earth that others called unsolvable. Perhaps he could do it again. Liara watched him closely. "I suppose this will be entertaining," she said, voice lilting. "Humans think they can compete with Zirans. Let's see if you can even turn that device on." Ethan approached the nearest console, noting the strange symbols and energy flows. He hesitated, then recalled a principle from his own world. Sometimes the simplest solution is hidden behind complexity. He adjusted a few controls, aligning energy pulses in a pattern that felt intuitive. To his surprise, and the astonishment of Liara, the device hummed to life, lights flickering in harmony with his adjustments. Liara blinked, her teasing smile faltering slightly. "Interesting," she murmured, stepping closer. "I did not expect that." Ethan allowed himself a small, cautious smile. "It's not about strength or knowledge alone," he said. "Sometimes it's about perspective." Liara's eyes studied him, no longer mocking, though still curious. "Perspective?" she repeated. "Humans have different ways of thinking. I had not considered that." The rest of the day was filled with trials. Ethan struggled with some, failed at others. Yet he consistently found a way to make progress using creative thinking. Liara began to speak less mockingly, asking questions instead, trying to understand his methods. Other Zirans started to glance at him with interest rather than scorn. By evening, Ethan found himself on a balcony overlooking the capital city. The sky was streaked with deep purple and pink, and the lights of the city danced like liquid diamonds. Liara appeared beside him, her tone quieter now. "You are not like other humans," she admitted. "You think differently. It is unsettling, but also intriguing." Ethan looked at her. "That's all humans really are," he said. "We adapt. We learn. We find ways to survive. And we hope to prove ourselves to others, even when they doubt us." Liara nodded slowly, her earlier mockery fading into something softer, more genuine. "Perhaps Earth has more to offer than I realized." Ethan felt a surge of hope. This was just the beginning. He was far from proving humanity's true potential, but the first seeds of respect had been planted. In a world of beings far more advanced, he had made a small mark, and that mark could grow into something greater. As night fell over Ziran Prime, Ethan looked out over the city. He thought of Earth, of the humans who had struggled and dreamed for centuries, and he realized something important. Humans were underestimated not because they were weak, but because others had never seen what they could truly achieve. Liara remained silent beside him, her gaze distant yet thoughtful. Something in her demeanor had shifted. Her laughter had vanished, replaced by curiosity and attention. Ethan did not fully understand what she was thinking, but he sensed a new respect forming, even if unspoken. For the first time, he felt that he could not only survive in this alien world, but perhaps even shine. And that realization filled him with a quiet confidence. The days ahead would be full of tests, challenges, and doubt. But he was ready. Humans had come far, and now, on Ziran Prime, they would take one more step into the stars. Ethan took a deep breath. The adventure was only beginning, and he knew that even the smallest human mind could change the future in ways no one expected. The next morning, the light of Ziran Prime's twin suns streamed through the glass ceilings of the training dome. Ethan stood near the center, observing the intricate devices and floating panels that filled the space. Liara appeared, her silver hair shimmering as she approached. This time, her expression was sharper, determined, almost competitive. "Today," she said, her voice carrying through the dome, "we will see if humans are more than amusing." She gestured toward several stations filled with alien devices, puzzles, and energy fields. "You will be tested in 3 areas: intelligence, agility, and creativity. Fail any one, and you will look even smaller than you already do." Ethan swallowed hard. His heart raced, but he reminded himself of the words he had told the Zirin Council. Humans survive through adaptability, teamwork, and thinking differently. "I accept the challenge," he said calmly. Liara raised an eyebrow. "Very well. Let us begin." The first challenge was intelligence. Holographic symbols floated above a console, shifting and rearranging constantly. The objective was simple in theory: align the symbols into the correct pattern to open a containment field. Ethan had seen similar puzzles on Earth, though never with floating energy. He studied the pattern carefully, noting the movement of the symbols. Liara circled him, her glowing eyes narrowing in curiosity. "You have 20 minutes, she said lightly, "though I doubt you will succeed." Ethan focused, recalling a method he had used back on Earth. Look for repetition, detect patterns, and predict the next move. Slowly, he began aligning the symbols, anticipating their motion rather than merely reacting. Sparks of energy danced around him, and the containment field flickered. "Interesting," Liara murmured, her earlier sarcasm fading. Ethan's hands moved quickly, guided by intuition and logic. With a soft hum, the symbols locked into place, and the field stabilized. Liara's eyes widened. "You actually did it." Her voice was low, almost a whisper. "A human, solving a Zirin puzzle." Ethan shrugged, a faint smile on his lips. "It's not magic," he said. "It's observation and understanding. Anyone could learn this with the right approach." Liara shook her head, partly impressed and partly frustrated. "I must admit, that was better than I expected." The next test was agility. Ethan was led to a vast chamber filled with moving platforms, energy beams, and shifting obstacles. Zirins were naturally faster and more flexible than humans, but Ethan had stamina and strategy on his side. Liara demonstrated first, gliding through the beams and leaping across platforms with a grace Ethan had never seen. "Follow me, human," she said. "Or stumble like a child." Ethan took a deep breath. He watched her movements, noting timing, speed, and angles. Then he began. He did not try to mimic her precisely. Instead, he found paths that suited his own strengths, using momentum and careful calculation. At times, he stumbled, almost falling into the energy barriers, but he recovered quickly, adjusting midair. Liara's eyes followed him, and for the first time, there was no mockery, only curiosity. Ethan completed the course, slightly slower than Liara, but without error. "Impressive," she said. Her tone lacked teasing now, though her pride still held. "You are clumsy, but clever in your method. Not what I expected from a human." Finally, the test of creativity awaited. Ethan entered a circular room, walls lined with machinery unlike anything on Earth. Liara explained the challenge. "Create a solution that harnesses this energy and stabilizes it in a new form. You may use any combination of devices. You have 1 hour." Ethan studied the machines. Each was complex, far beyond anything he had encountered. At first, he felt the old, familiar doubt creep in. But then he remembered Earth, the place where humans had built machines from scraps, solved problems with limited resources, and survived impossible circumstances. He could do this. He approached the machines, experimenting cautiously. Most Zirin solutions relied on brute force or overcomplicated sequences. Ethan thought differently. He combined two devices in a way the manuals would never suggest, creating a feedback loop that stabilized the energy naturally. Sparks flew, lights shifted, and the room pulsed with a smooth hum. Liara stepped closer. Her glow dimmed slightly as she watched. You actually made it work differently," she said, astonished. "Not like us. A human solution?" "Different doesn't mean wrong," Ethan said quietly. "It just means new." Liara's expression softened, her earlier teasing completely gone. I had never seen this before. Earth humans may be underestimated." Other Zirans in the observation chamber whispered to each other, their doubts slowly transforming into curiosity. Ethan's calm persistence, his unconventional methods, and his focus on solutions rather than appearances were turning skepticism into respect. After the tests, Liara led Ethan to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The twin suns hung low, casting long shadows across the crystalline towers. Ethan could feel exhaustion from the challenges. Yet he also felt exhilaration. He had proven something, even if just a little. "You are different," Liara said softly, her tone almost sincere now. "I expected failure, or at least clumsiness. Instead, you show skill, patience, and a mind that thinks beyond the obvious." Ethan nodded. "That is all humans really are. We learn, adapt, and find ways to survive. We may be small, but we think big." Liara studied him for a long moment, her glowing eyes reflecting the colors of the setting suns. "Perhaps I misjudged you. Humans may be more than I imagined." Ethan smiled faintly. "I hope I can continue to show that. There is still much to prove." She hesitated, then added, "Do not let this confidence make you careless, human. There will be greater challenges ahead." "I am ready," Ethan said, looking out at the horizon. "We humans are always ready to learn, to face the impossible." That evening, Ethan returned to his quarters, thinking about the day. The mockery of Liara had shifted into curiosity, and he sensed that the other Zirans were starting to reconsider their ideas about humans. His skills were not just tools, they were proof that humans could solve problems in ways others could not imagine. As he lay down, Ethan thought about his life on Earth. He remembered the small workshops, the late nights solving technical problems, and the endless curiosity that had driven him forward. Those experiences, so ordinary on his home planet, were now shaping the first impressions of an alien civilization. Liara's words echoed in his mind. "Perhaps humans may be more than I imagined." He realized the truth in them. Humanity was underestimated. Yes, but underestimated humans could achieve extraordinary things when given a chance. Across the city, lights shimmered in the crystalline towers, a silent reminder that this world was vast, complex, and full of challenges. Ethan's mind raced with possibilities. He knew the tests would continue and more scrutiny would follow, but he felt a quiet confidence. Today had been the first step. Tomorrow, he would take the next. For the first time on Zirin Prime, Ethan felt not just survival, but potential. And he knew that humans had a way of turning potential into something remarkable, something that could change the way the universe viewed them. Liara, watching him from a distance, felt a shift within herself. The human before her was no longer merely a subject of mockery. He was clever, resilient, and unexpectedly capable. For the first time, she wondered what it truly meant to underestimate another being. And as night fully settled over the glowing city, both human and Zirin stood in quiet reflection. The seeds of understanding, and perhaps respect, had been planted. The path ahead would be full of challenges, but for the first time, both recognized that collaboration and ingenuity might lead to something extraordinary. Ethan closed his eyes, feeling the hum of Zirin energy beneath the city. Tomorrow would bring new trials, and he would face them with the same determination that had brought him this far. Because humans were not merely survivors. They were thinkers, innovators, and sometimes, unexpectedly, brilliant. And that was something even the most advanced aliens had yet to fully understand. The morning sun of Zirin Prime glinted off the crystalline towers as Ethan entered the council chamber. Today, the session was open to more Zirins than usual. Rumors had spread quickly about the human who had passed the intelligence and creativity tests. Some were curious, others skeptical, and a few secretly amused. Ethan could feel their gazes as he walked, small and human among the towering, glowing figures of the Zirins. Liara appeared first, standing beside the council dais. Her silver hair shone in the sunlight, and her normally teasing smile was gone. Instead, her expression was one of measured attention. She studied Ethan closely, as if trying to see him in a way she had never bothered before. "You are early, human," she said lightly, though there was no mockery in her voice. "Come, stand here. The council wishes to witness your abilities." Ethan nodded, keeping his composure. "I will do my best," he said, knowing that words alone would not impress these advanced beings. Actions mattered here, not claims. The council elder, the one with the golden eyes, spoke first. "Human, you have completed preliminary tests with skill, yet you remain an outsider. Today, we test not just your ability, but your perspective." He gestured to a large holographic display that shimmered in midair. Energy flows twisted and pulsed inside it, like a living network. "Our city's power grid has become unstable. We have tried for cycles to stabilize it. It resists every solution. We are curious if a human mind can see what we cannot." Ethan approached the display carefully. He could feel the energy surging beneath the panels, pulsing in a rhythm almost like a heartbeat. It was alien, complex, and dangerous. One wrong move could trigger a shutdown, or worse, a catastrophic overload. Yet he sensed something others had missed. The system was rigid in its design, following predictable rules. It lacked flexibility. Humans, he reminded himself, were good at seeing flexibility where others saw only rules. Liara stepped closer. "Be cautious," she said softly, almost as if warning him personally. Her tone had changed completely. The mocking had vanished, replaced by concern, or perhaps respect. Ethan studied the grid. He noticed patterns the Zirins had ignored, small fluctuations in the energy flow that hinted at a solution. Instead of brute force, he needed balance and subtle adjustments. Something humans often did without thinking. He began aligning minor circuits, redirecting energy flows carefully. Sparks flickered, and the display pulsed with light, but he stayed calm. The council watched silently, their glowing eyes wide with interest. Liara's arms crossed, her focus entirely on his work. "Unusual approach," she murmured. "Humans think in ways unexpected." After several tense minutes, the grid stabilized. The energy flows hummed smoothly, no longer threatening collapse. The chamber fell into a heavy silence before the elder spoke, voice soft with surprise. "You have done what we could not. The solution was correct. The human mind has found a path hidden to Zirins." Ethan exhaled quietly, relief washing over him. He had done it. Not through superior technology, not through brute force, but through observation, intuition, and flexibility. Liara stepped closer, her eyes wide. She seemed almost stunned. "This cannot be possible," she said softly. "Humans, you solved it?" "Yes," Ethan said calmly. "It was not about being better or stronger. It was about seeing the system differently, using what I know from Earth." A murmur rippled through the council chamber. One Zirin official whispered to another, "The human perspective, perhaps it has value." Another shook their head, incredulous. Then came the revelation. A senior council member, who had been observing quietly, spoke with a tone that carried weight. "Perhaps you do not know this, human," he said to Ethan, "but the method you used aligns with ancient practices once taught to Earthborn beings. Your species, your home planet, has a way of thinking that is rare among newcomers to the stars. It is why you succeeded where our methods failed." Liara froze. Her silver hair shimmered as if catching light from another source entirely. She looked directly at Ethan, her expression changing rapidly, from surprise to shock, and finally to awe. "You are Earthborn?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan nodded. "Yes, I am from Earth." Liara's eyes widened further. The teasing and mockery that had been her armor for the past days vanished completely. She stepped back slightly, processing the revelation. "All this time, I thought humans were weak, simple, inferior. And yet, you have solved what my people could not. You are from that world?" Ethan nodded again, his tone humble but firm. "Earth is underestimated, yes, but humans survive, adapt, and think in ways others often overlook. That is our strength." For the first time, Liara spoke with sincerity, without sarcasm or teasing. I misjudged you. I misjudged your world. Perhaps humans are not as small or weak as we believed." Her eyes reflected a new respect, a curiosity mixed with astonishment. The elder council member nodded slowly. "This human has demonstrated what we suspected but could not confirm. Earthborn beings have qualities that cannot be replicated by technology alone. Creativity, adaptability, intuition, these are rare, even among advanced species. It seems we must reconsider our assumptions." Ethan felt a strange warmth at his chest. He had never sought admiration, only a chance to show that humans could stand alongside other species in the galaxy. Yet now, before these beings who had once doubted him, recognition was being given, not for bravado, but for skill, patience, and perspective. Liara, still recovering from the revelation, stepped closer. Her previous teasing smile had completely disappeared. Instead, she offered a small, respectful nod. "I underestimated you, Ethan. Earthborn. Perhaps we should learn more from humans instead of mocking them." Ethan allowed himself a small smile. "I hope you do. There is much we can teach each other if given the chance." The council murmured in agreement. Some Zirans, who had been skeptical moments ago, now looked at Ethan with curiosity. One said aloud, "Perhaps Earth is not just a distant, primitive world. Perhaps it holds beings who can shape the future among the stars." Liara stayed silent, watching Ethan closely. The human before her had not only solved a problem that challenged her people, but had also shifted her perception completely. She realized that her mockery had been misplaced. Humans were not to be laughed at. They were to be observed, understood, and perhaps respected. Later, as Ethan walked through the city with Liara, the air felt different. There was no teasing, no snide comments, only curiosity and a hint of admiration. The streets sparkled with energy flows and floating vehicles, yet Ethan felt less out of place than ever. He understood now that being underestimated could be an advantage. People, and even aliens, often overlooked what humans could achieve. Liara broke the silence at last. "I will admit, your actions today were remarkable. I do not know if I have ever seen a being think so differently." "Earthborn, you have surprised me." Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans have always had to find ways to survive, to innovate, to see beyond what is obvious. That is why we succeed in challenges like this. I hope this is only the beginning." Liara nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps it is. And perhaps I should stop thinking of humans as beneath us." Her tone carried an honesty that had never been there before. The streets of Zirin Prime shimmered beneath the twin suns, and Ethan realized something important. His place among the Zirins was no longer defined by his small stature or his human limits. It was defined by his mind, his creativity, and the perspective only an Earthborn could bring. For the first time, Ethan felt truly seen, not just as a human, but as an individual capable of contributing to a universe far larger and more complex than his home planet. Liara walked beside him, a quiet ally rather than a teasing rival. The mockery that had defined their first encounter was gone, replaced by curiosity, respect, and perhaps the beginning of understanding. As night fell, the lights of the city sparkled like stars reflected on water. Ethan looked at Liara and said quietly, "Humans are underestimated, yes, but we do not mind. It allows us to show what we can really do, step by step, challenge by challenge." Liara's glowing eyes met his, and for the first time she smiled without sarcasm. "I will remember that, Earthborn. Perhaps we have much to learn from each other." And as they stood together looking out over the glowing city, Ethan knew that the path ahead would not be easy, but it would be full of possibilities. Humans had entered a galaxy that doubted them, and already with patience and ingenuity, they had begun to prove their worth. The revelation had changed everything, not just for Liara, not just for the Council, but for humanity itself. Ethan's journey on Zirin Prime had taken a turn, and he was ready to face the challenges that awaited, with courage, intelligence, and the quiet confidence of someone who knew that humans, no matter how underestimated, could achieve extraordinary things. The calm of Zirin Prime was shattered just after the second sun passed its zenith. Alarms rang through the crystalline city, echoing off the towers and filling the streets with urgent vibrations. Energy surges flashed across the sky, and vehicles hovered unsteadily as warning lights flickered. Ethan, walking beside Liara through the council district, froze. "What is happening?" he asked, sensing the danger immediately. Liara's glowing blue eyes narrowed. "The main energy grid is failing," she said quickly. "If the overload continues, it could collapse the city's core systems. Entire districts could shut down and people could be trapped. We need to act fast." Ethan's mind raced. He had already stabilized one part of the system in the council chamber, but this was far larger. The entire city's energy network pulsed and shivered like a living being in pain. "Lead me to the control hub," he said, "and I'll do what I can." Liara nodded, her tone urgent but respectful. "Follow me, quickly." They dashed through the streets, dodging panicked Zirins and hovering vehicles. The city's energy flows twisted erratically above them, a dangerous spectacle of raw power. Ethan's heart pounded, not with fear, but with focus. This was the moment humans were known for, to face impossible odds with creativity, logic, and courage. At the control hub, Liara opened a large console, holographic displays flickering wildly. Zirin engineers were frantically adjusting controls, their elegant motions failing to stabilize the grid. Ethan took a deep breath and surveyed the system. "The patterns are chaotic," he said, scanning the flowing energy. "But I see the problem. The grid is too rigid. The Zirins designed it to be efficient, but it can't adapt to fluctuations beyond a certain point." Liara glanced at him, her eyes wide. "You mean, you think you can fix it?" "Yes. But it will require cooperation," Ethan said calmly. "We need to combine human flexibility with Zirin technology. I will direct the adjustments, but I need someone who knows the system intimately to act on my instructions." Liara nodded without hesitation. "I will help. Let us do this together." The room fell silent as Ethan instructed the engineers. "Redirect energy flows in small increments, not all at once. Use a feedback loop to balance the surges, and don't overcompensate. The system must respond gradually." The Zirin engineers hesitated, unsure of a human's guidance, but Liara's presence reassured them. She followed Ethan's instructions precisely, her glowing hands moving over the controls as she relayed commands. Ethan focused, calculating timing, flow rates, and adjustments in real time. Sparks flew from consoles, and a low hum filled the hub as the city's energy began to respond to his guidance. The system pulsed, struggled, and then slowly stabilized. Lights flickered back into uniform brightness, and hovering vehicles regained their balance. Liara exhaled deeply, relief washing over her. "You did it," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "The human mind. It can truly change things." Ethan allowed himself a faint smile, though he remained focused. "It's not about being better than you," he said. "It's about finding solutions together. Humans think differently, but we work with what we have, just like you." The council arrived moments later, their golden eyes wide in astonishment. "Remarkable," said the elder council member. "You have stabilized the city when our methods failed. The human mind is powerful indeed." Liara stepped forward, glowing softly in the aftermath. I misjudged you before, Ethan. My mockery was wrong. You have shown courage, intelligence, and ingenuity, and you did it while working with us, not against us." Ethan nodded. "Humans thrive when we cooperate. We may be underestimated, but we adapt, we solve, and we endure. That is our way." The council murmured among themselves, clearly impressed. Zirans who had doubted him now looked at him with respect, some even bowing slightly in acknowledgement. Ethan felt a surge of quiet pride, not for himself, but for humanity as a whole. Earthborn beings were finally showing their worth. Liara turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "You solved this problem not by force, not by speed, but by seeing what others could not. That is rare. And it makes me reconsider everything I thought about humans." Ethan looked at the glowing city outside the hub. People moved calmly now, unaware how close disaster had come. "It's not about being rare," he said. "It's about being willing to try. Humans never give up, even when things seem impossible." Liara smiled, a genuine warmth in her gaze. "I suppose you are right. Perhaps I should stop underestimating you or your people." Ethan allowed himself a small grin. "That would be wise. We humans often surprise others when they least expect it." For the rest of the day, Ethan worked alongside Ziran engineers, fine-tuning the city's energy systems. The once fractured grid now ran smoothly, humming with a steady, balanced energy. Liara stayed by his side, assisting and learning. The two of them formed an unspoken bond, a partnership born from trust, respect, and shared focus. Later, as they stood atop a tower overlooking the city, the twin suns dipped low, casting golden and violet light across the crystalline skyline. Ethan's chest swelled with quiet pride. Humanity had survived disasters before, solved problems against impossible odds, and now, on an alien world, it was proving itself again. Liara remained silent for a moment, her eyes fixed on the horizon. I have learned something today," she said finally. "Humans are not just simple, small, or weak. You think differently, and that is your strength. I respect that." Ethan turned to her, sensing the shift in her attitude. The teasing, mockery, and doubt of the past days had completely vanished. In its place was curiosity, admiration, and a growing trust. "Thank you, Liara. That means more than you know." She nodded. "Perhaps we will face more challenges together. You have shown me that humans are capable even in ways Zirans cannot always predict." Ethan smiled faintly. "I hope so. There is much we can learn from each other, and together we can accomplish things neither species could achieve alone." The city below shimmered in the evening light, safe and stable once more. Ethan felt a sense of accomplishment, not for personal glory, but for the demonstration of human potential. He had shown that humans, though small and underestimated, could face challenges with ingenuity, courage, and collaboration. Liara remained by his side, silent but thoughtful. The experience had changed her perspective entirely. The human she had once mocked was now a respected ally, a being capable of shaping outcomes that even the Zirans had thought impossible. As night fell, the city lights reflected in Ethan's eyes. He realized something profound. Being underestimated was not a weakness. It was an advantage. Humans could surprise, innovate, and overcome when others doubted them. That was the essence of humanity. Liara glanced at him one last time before turning toward the tower's exit. "Tomorrow will bring new challenges," she said softly, "and perhaps together we can face them." Ethan nodded. "Together, humans and Zirans, we can accomplish more than any of us imagined." For the first time, he felt fully at home, not on Earth, but among beings who had doubted him, now beginning to understand that humanity's greatest strength was mind, heart, and persistence. The city thrummed with life, glowing softly under the twin moons that rose in the night sky. Ethan and Liara stood together, silent but united. The path ahead was uncertain, full of challenges, and yet full of promise. For the first time on Ziran Prime, human ingenuity and Ziran technology had merged, creating a partnership stronger than either could achieve alone. And Ethan knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had entered the stars, not as weak newcomers, but as capable, creative, and resilient beings. And now, with Liara by his side, he was ready to face whatever trials the universe had in store. The next morning, the Ziran council chamber buzzed with a quiet energy. Word of Ethan's success in stabilizing the city's grid had spread quickly. Beings from different parts of the city had traveled to witness the human who had solved a problem that had challenged the most advanced minds of Ziran Prime. Ethan entered the chamber, feeling the weight of curious and admiring gazes upon him. Liara was already there, standing near the council dais. Her expression was calm, confident, yet respectful. Gone was the teasing, replaced by genuine attention and consideration. The elder council member, his golden eyes reflecting the rising suns, stepped forward. "Ethan, Earthborn," he said, his voice steady and formal. "Your actions have proven what we suspected, but could not confirm. Humans are not weak. You possess creativity, adaptability, and courage that rival even the most skilled of our people. Today, the Council formally acknowledges the value of your species in interstellar affairs." A murmur of agreement ran through the chamber. Other Zirans nodded and whispered among themselves, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and admiration. Ethan felt a quiet pride. This was not personal glory. It was recognition for humanity as a whole. Earth had arrived on the galactic stage, not as a weak or insignificant planet, but as a world of thinkers, problem-solvers, and innovators. Liara stepped forward, her silver hair shimmering in the soft light of the chamber. She spoke clearly, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. "I misjudged humans, Ethan. I mocked you and your kind because I did not understand. Today I see that humans have unique strengths, perspectives and ideas that can complement even the most advanced technology. I apologize for my earlier behavior." Ethan nodded, his calm demeanor reflecting the respect he had for her honesty. "Thank you, Liara. Respect is earned, not demanded. I am glad we can see each other clearly now." The council smiled, clearly satisfied. "It is rare," said the elder, "that a species can surprise us so fully. Your solution to the energy crisis has shown the value of collaboration and the importance of understanding new perspectives. You have taught us a lesson that no manual or theory could convey." Ethan felt a warm satisfaction. The months of study, practice, and careful observation had culminated in this moment. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, yet they consistently proved that creativity and perseverance could overcome any challenge. After the formal recognition, Liara motioned for Ethan to follow her outside. They walked through the streets of the city, which now glimmered softly in the morning light. Hovering vehicles moved smoothly, citizens walked without worry, and the hum of the restored energy grid filled the air. "You changed the way my people see humans," Liara said quietly, her tone thoughtful. I never realized how strong humans could be. Not in terms of technology or power, but in intellect, adaptability, and courage. You have opened my eyes." Ethan smiled. "That is all any human ever asks, to be seen for what we can do. We may not have the same physical strength or advanced devices, but we solve problems. We endure. We adapt. That is how we survive." Liara paused, studying him carefully. "And perhaps it is how humans will shape the future in ways we cannot yet imagine." Ethan's gaze turned to the horizon. Beyond the city, the crystalline towers reflected sunlight, casting brilliant patterns across the plains. "Earth and humans are ready," he said quietly. "We have learned, and now we are prepared to contribute, to explore, to grow. I believe this is only the beginning." Liara nodded, a small smile touching her lips. "Then we will face it together, humans and Zirans. We can achieve more together than apart. I am glad you are here, Ethan." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, not for personal recognition, but for the realization that barriers between species could be broken. Misunderstanding, doubt, and mockery could turn into cooperation, respect, and friendship. Humanity had proven itself not by competing, but by showing its unique way of thinking and its willingness to work alongside others. In the days that followed, Ethan worked closely with Liara and the Ziran engineers to implement new energy systems, improve city designs, and explore ways humans and Zirans could combine their approaches for mutual benefit. Each day brought new challenges, but each was met with collaboration and creativity. One afternoon, Liara and Ethan stood atop one of the tallest towers, looking down at the city's heart. The energy flows hummed harmoniously, citizens moved safely below, and distant mountains reflected the twin suns. "You have changed more than just the energy grid," Liara said softly. "You have changed how my people see humans, and perhaps how the galaxy will see us as well." Ethan looked at her and smiled. "Humans are small, yes, but underestimated humans have always achieved great things. It is not the size of the species, but the strength of its ideas, its courage, and its will to overcome challenges." Liara nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I will remember this, and I will help others see it too. Humans are not to be laughed at. They are to be respected." Ethan's eyes shone with quiet pride. Respect must be earned, and humans are ready to earn it through action. Over the next weeks, the partnership between Ethan and Liara grew. They studied together, solved problems together, and began planning exploratory missions to other systems. Zirans and humans collaborated in ways that had once seemed impossible, demonstrating that strength lies not only in technology or physical power, but in ingenuity, creativity, and cooperation. One evening, as the city's twin moons rose high, Liara and Ethan stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars beyond Ziran Prime. "Do you ever wonder," Liara asked softly, "what the universe will think of humans when it sees what we can do together?" Ethan smiled, feeling the weight of the moment. "The universe already doubts us," he said, "but that is our advantage. Humans thrive when underestimated. We will continue to surprise, and we will continue to grow." Liara turned to him, her glowing eyes reflecting both sunlight and the soft glow of the city. "I once mocked you, mocked your kind, but now I see you differently. Earthborn, clever, brave. You are all that I did not expect, and all that I admire." Ethan laughed softly, a sound of relief and joy. "Thank you, Liara. That means a great deal. Humans will continue to show what we can do, step by step, challenge by challenge." As they stood together, the night sky stretched infinitely above them, filled with stars, distant planets, and possibilities yet to be explored. Ethan felt a quiet confidence. Humanity had arrived, not as weak newcomers, but as thinkers, innovators, and capable allies. Liara smiled faintly, her hand brushing lightly against his. "Tomorrow," she said, "we begin new missions. There is much to explore, much to learn, and humans, you will be at the heart of it all." Ethan nodded, feeling the truth of her words. Humans have always dreamed of the stars. Now we will reach them, not alone, but together with friends like you, Liara, and with those who are willing to see our worth. The city of Zirin Prime shimmered below, safe, stable, and alive. Humanity had proven its place. Misunderstood no longer, underestimated no longer. Ethan felt the weight of a new beginning. A chapter for Earth had begun in the stars, one defined by courage, intelligence, and the persistent human will to overcome. And as the twin moons reflected on the crystalline towers, Ethan knew that the future held limitless possibilities. Humans had made their mark, and together with Zirans, they would face the universe with strength, creativity, and determination. Liara looked at him one last time. Her earlier mockery fully vanished. "I am glad you are Earthborn," she said softly, "and I am glad we met." Ethan smiled, looking at the distant stars. "As am I. Together we will show the galaxy what humans can do." The night was calm. The city thrummed with life, and above it all, a human and a Ziran stood united, ready to